This is my just retired FreeNAS box, a computer I built specifically to run FreeNAS, a free software solution for a network attached storage device that had been running at home as a file share server built out of parts I already had on hand. It was a laser cutting design and assembly project. The computer's built out of a mini ITX motherboard, a full-size ATX power supply, and two 2 terabyte hard drives, one on each side. And I designed this so to have minimal cooling systems required. There's really only 2 cooling fans on here. We can see both of them right now, one on the CPU and one in the power supply. The original intent was that air is drawn in, the side intakes flow past the hard drive, both up and then down under. Some of it will migrate to the front to cool the CPU, and all of it gets drawn out the cooling fan and exits out the top. I don't have any experience or knowledge in actual thermal design. This was done out of intuition, and some of this intuition is wrong, as evidenced by the flow and gathering of dust over these past 3 years. So before I disassemble all the parts, reclaim them, and vacuum everything up, I wanted to get this on video so I can document some of the pattern I observed and maybe take that as a lesson in future projects. Most of the dust we see up top is just 3 years of buildup. This box has been working nonstop, running nonstop for almost 3 years, and that's just household dust collecting from gravity. The first note of interest are these 2 smudges up top near the power supply, presumably something to do with the grate that's covering the power supply fan. That'll be interesting to understand if I can. In front, the CPU fan has created its own circular dust pattern. We can see where the dust has collected. I designed this door for easy access to hardware, which I actually ended up not needing through most of this 3-year service life. I didn't seal this very tightly, and we can see air getting sucked in through these gaps, indicated by the dust that has collected. Also inside, this CPU auxiliary power cable picked up a lot of dust. I assume it's from this gap coming in on its way to the CPU fan and to be pulled out later. Most of the rest behave as expected. I did not allocate a lot of airflow because this CPU is running minimal workload as a file shared server. Moving to the side, the hard drive cutout is this triangular shape. I wanted to bias it to cool this corner because I expected the airflow to move up from convection and be pulled to the front to the CPU chamber before moving into the power supply fan. What ended up happening is that convection was not as much of a force as I had expected. So judging by the dust pattern, most of the air actually moved down and around this way. So my intuition on airflow was wrong. Be good to keep note of that for the next design. A lot of air did come through here to move into the computing compartment. You can see a lot of dust that gathered up from when the airflow slowed down through here. There's the heat exhaust vent. Moving to the back, there's very little dust here, very little air, indicating very little airflow, which actually was as designed. But there is one thing interesting of note: this smudge right here. Unsure what that means, where that came from, but it's very light, so I take that to mean that is not a significant factor in cooling, and it was fine. Here's the other side of the hard drive, showing a very similar pattern. Not as much gathered here, but just as much dust gathered below. So most of the air was drawn downward and under by the cooling fan. So I'm moving up to a more extensive FreeNAS box. One, I want more drives. Two, I want to start hosting virtual machines on the server. We're needing a more powerful CPU and more RAM. The other thing is FreeNAS originally designed to boot off of USB hard drives and then flash drives and then run mostly from RAM. And they've been moving away from that, is what I understand. So the new box is going to have a actual SSD instead of a flash drive as the main system drive, which should make the system more robust and reliable. And that's what I want my network server to do. All right, that video documents the buildup of 3 years of dust before I disassemble and vacuum everything up. Goodbye, little FreeNAS box. Your reliable file storage, and it was a fun acrylic project. The new case is going to be a commodity tower case until and unless I have a creative project in mind for it. Until then, this guy's gonna get taken apart.